As I was walking toward the school entrance, I heard someone call out my name, Chernov. "Hey, can I copy your homework? No questions." "All right, fine. Want me to give you the summary right here?" I asked, glancing around. "Why not? No rain, no wind," he replied. I pulled my notebooks from my bag and began flipping the pages for my classmate, Lyoka. I wasn't doing it because we were friends. Far from it. It was just useless to argue with him. One time I was in a bad mood and said no. I ended up cleaning blood off my face in the school bathroom, and my books were scattered under the history classroom window. I learned fast. It was better not to say no to Lyoka, although in general he could be reasoned with. But the real thugs from the other class were a different story. You didn't want to cross their path. They didn't care if you were older, younger, male, or female. Weakness was all they needed to see. The only ones they feared were people who could fight back. So I avoided them altogether. The top dog among them was Gray, Siri. He'd been on the juvenile record since 9th grade and had already had several run-ins with the police. Everyone was afraid of him. Even the teachers didn't seem able to do anything about him. I never understood why people feared him and wanted to be friends with him so badly. Personally, I had zero desire to be his buddy. But I definitely wouldn't mind spending time with his girlfriend. Sari, as you might expect, was dating the most beautiful girl in school, Vika. She was stunning in a way that made it impossible to look away. Coal black hair, dramatic brows, porcelain skin with a faint blush. But what captivated me most? Well, it's hard to put into words. I had loved Vika since 5th grade. Our families used to be close, but then our moms had a falling out, and that was the end of it. She found new friends, cool ones, and stopped talking to me. She didn't want to be seen with someone like me anymore. When she started dating Siri in 9th grade, everything changed. Now we barely acknowledged each other with a nod. I practically lived on her social media page, staring at her photos for hours, dreaming she'd one day notice me and fall for who I really was. Even now, lost in that thought, I smiled, and that was a mistake. "Hey, clown, what are you grinning at?" Siri's voice came from the side. I immediately sped up my pace, pretending I hadn't heard him. "Hey, I'm talking to you." Realizing he wouldn't leave me alone, I turned toward him. "You talking to me?" His jaw tensed, and he stepped right into my personal space. "Who else you think I see another clown here?" he growled. I tried to brush it off, but he was already wound up. He raised his hand as if to strike, and I felt myself tense. "You got any money on you? Speak up." "Yeah," I squeaked. "Hand it over." It felt like we were the only two people in the entire school. Everything was quiet, as if classes had started and everyone was gone. But in reality, a crowd had formed around us, watching closely, waiting for something to happen. "Siri, come on, man. Don't waste your time," said his friend Lopatkin, who was gripping me by the collar. "Seriously, the kid's about to wet himself." Then a girl's voice rang out, making Siri unclench his fist. "What's going on here?" It was Vika. "Vika, hey, we're just talking," Siri mumbled, trying to play it cool. "Sure looks like it. Yeah, we're like friends." "Friends?" she said, raising an eyebrow. "So you'd treat me the same way?" "What? No, of course not. Just like him. He's your friend too, right?" Siri stared at the ground, clearly at a loss. "All right, fine. Maybe I went too far, big deal. It happens," he mumbled. "Let's just go to class. What do we have now, English? We're not going anywhere, Vika said calmly. Not until you apologize. Everyone was still watching, eyes wide open, waiting for the outcome. Siri laughed awkwardly and glanced at his friends for support. When he realized none was coming, he muttered something under his breath. That's not good enough, Vika said coldly. He deserved it, he added, pointing at me. Right, Ilya. He nodded, while clenching his fist so hard the skin on his knuckles turned white. No, Vika, it's fine, I said. Are you sure? She asked, her voice full of doubt. Yeah, really. All good. What class do you have now? Geography. Well, go on then. As I walked up the stairs, it felt like I was flying, not walking, floating. Vika had stood up for me. That meant she cared, even just a little. She was worried about me. With that thought in mind, I entered the classroom, sat down, and tried to focus on the lesson. But I couldn't. All I could think about was her. Chernov, the teacher said loudly. Yes? Are you ready to recite paragraph 5? I got up and began reciting. The beginning went fine, but soon I was stumbling over my words. Aleftina Stepanovna gave me a barely passed mark and sent me back to my seat. After classes, I went home as usual. Without resting much, I buried myself in homework. By around 6, everything was finished. My eyes were tired, and my head was full. I figured a walk would do me good. I got dressed and stepped outside. The cool autumn air perked me up, and I didn't feel like going back home just yet. I headed toward the lake. In summer, it's packed with people, but now, in fall, it felt abandoned. Leaves scattered over the cold sand reminded me that swimming season was long over. I sat on a chilly bench and looked out at the dark, still water. Hard to believe people were swimming here just a month and a half ago. My thoughts were interrupted when a massive Rottweiler appeared beside me. I'm not exactly afraid of dogs, but this one gave me a bad feeling. A familiar voice called from a distance. It was Vika. She stepped out from behind the bushes, and I recognized her silhouette. Oh, hi, Ilya, she said cheerfully. Hey, I replied. What are you doing here? She asked, sitting next to me. Just walking. Well, we're walking too. Mind if we join you? Of course not. Her dog kept circling us as we sat together by the lake. Vika tossed the ball, and the dog immediately ran after it, leaving the two of us alone. I'm sorry about Syria. He's not exactly right in the head, she said. Then why are you with him? I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. Vika raised an eyebrow and stared at me. I quickly tried to backpedal. Wait, no, that's not what I meant. It's okay, she interrupted. I've asked myself the same thing more than once. In fact, I broke up with him right after class today. Hearing that hit me like a punch in the gut. Why'd you break up with him? I asked. Not just because of today. I realized he's just like everyone else. It's hard, you know? Because of how I look, people just want to use me. That's not true, I tried to tell her, but she didn't seem to hear me. It's always the same. They only want what's outside. I don't know how else to say it. Her voice cracked, and I suddenly wanted nothing more than to comfort her. Don't cry, Vika, I said. I love you. I've loved you since 5th grade. I'd accept you no matter what. As soon as the words left my mouth, I realized I'd gone too far, but it was too late. Vika looked straight at me and asked one question. Is that true? Just say yes or no. Yes, it's true. A faint smile appeared on her face. I thought she might laugh or brush it off, but instead she leaned against my shoulder and whispered, I've waited so long to hear that. You're not mad at me? I asked. Why would I be? She replied. I believe you. Unlike Siri, you're not capable of lying. Why do you think that? Because I've known you since we were kids. I don't think much has changed in you. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I tried to move on. Well, at least I cheered you up. I should probably go now. It's getting late, I added. Wait, Vika said, and kissed me on the lips. That night, everything in my life changed. The girl I had dreamed about endlessly, she was mine now. We agreed to keep our relationship secret so Siri wouldn't find out. Luckily, we all lived nearby, so hiding it until spring seemed doable. After that, school would be over, and so would Siri. The next day at school, we acted just like we had planned. In crowded hallways, we barely acknowledged each other. But something unexpected happened. Vika slipped a folded note into my jacket pocket in the locker room. The paper was scented with her perfume. She promised a surprise. Wow, I thought. How does she know where I live? But then I remembered we used to hang out at my place all the time when we were kids. The thought only reinforced my belief that Vika truly loved me. I felt like the happiest guy on earth. Finally, the bad times were over. School was nearly done. I had the girl of my dreams, and Siri wasn't around anymore. It felt like life had become a fairy tale. After the final bell rang, I was the first one out the classroom door, rushing toward the locker room. But just then, my desk mate and friend Igor stopped me. Where are you headed, Ilya? Home, why? I wanted to invite you over. Before he could finish, I cut him off. Sorry, not today. All right, you're heading straight home then? Yeah, need to help my parents. Can we hang tomorrow? Sure. Igor was my best and only real friend, but I didn't want to tell him everything yet, especially not about me and Vika. We had only just started dating. As I neared my building, a wave of unease washed over me. What if Siri was waiting there? Some sick joke, maybe? I stepped carefully onto the sidewalk, scanning my surroundings for anything suspicious, but everything seemed normal. On my toes, I crept into the building, grabbed the mail from the box, and raced up the stairs to the 4th floor. Once inside my apartment, I locked the door behind me and sorted through the mail-just bills, ads, newspapers. But then, tucked between pages, I found a small, heart-shaped note. Only an address was written on it, one that felt oddly familiar, though I couldn't recall what was there. I headed straight there, assuming Vika would already be waiting. When I saw the rundown building, I remembered. Right, we used to sneak in here as kids, I muttered. A pink chalk arrow pointed toward the door. That erased any doubt. I pulled the door open, and the musty air hit me hard. It was dark inside, so I turned on my phone flashlight. A narrow trail of colorful confetti led upward. I climbed the creaky stairs cautiously, half expecting them to collapse, but they didn't. At one floor, several doors lined the hallway. On one of them, a chalk heart was drawn. Without hesitation, I opened it and stepped inside. Dusty windows let in some light just enough to see, unlike the boarded-up windows downstairs. The kitchen still had some furniture and utensils. The hallway, however, was bare. Even the linoleum had been ripped out. Strange, honestly. In the living room, I screamed at the top of my lungs. There, leaning against the wall, stood a life-sized doll, hideous and grotesque. Its eye sockets were pitch black, with one eye smaller than the other. Its smile looked fake and crooked. The face was ghostly pale, like it had been lacquered. Tangled black hair fell to its chest. Gray skin peeked out from beneath the tattered clothes. I bolted toward the exit, ready to curse Vika for her twisted joke. Then I heard her voice behind me. "Where are you going?" The doll's mouth opened, and out came Vika's voice. "What, not happy to see me?" "Sure I am. Just, could you take that off? I nearly had a heart attack." "I thought you were different," she said, "but you're just like everyone else." "What do you mean?" "You said you loved me, any version of me. But clearly, you lied." Suddenly, the terrifying thing moved toward me. I turned and ran down the stairs, out of the building. How I made it home, I don't even know. Then the texts started coming, one after another. "You can't hide. I know where you live." After the last message, she sent me something that made my stomach turn inside out. A photo of Siri, dead. His lifeless eyes were pierced with needles. His lips were crusted with dried blood. His face was covered in small, bloody cuts. "You think he died quickly?" "No, and you won't either. I'm coming." Suddenly, I heard someone at the front door. Fast footsteps in the hallway. The door to my room burst open. My mom stood there looking confused. "Ilya? Mom? Is that you?" She composed herself quickly and said, "No. Why?" "Nothing. Just had a nightmare." "A nightmare? That's too bad. Why are you up so early?" "I've got a fever. Took sick leave." "Good. Get well soon." And with that, she slowly closed the door. That was the last message I ever got from Vika, or whatever she had become. After that, nothing else came through. I just sat there, remembering the girl I once called a friend. I couldn't connect that terrifying creature to the girl I remembered from my childhood. But one thought kept nagging at me. My mom and Vika's mom had always been incredibly close. Aunt Nadia was often at our house, and Vika and I used to spend hours in my room, while our moms chatted in the kitchen. Things might have gone on like that if it weren't for one strange incident. One day, while Vika and I were watching cartoons, loud shouting suddenly erupted from the kitchen. Our moms were yelling at each other. It was intense. Aunt Nadia suddenly burst into the room, grabbed Vika by the arm, and pulled her into the hallway. She didn't say a word, just looked at me while Vika mumbled, "See you at school." I shrugged and went back to my room. My mom looked shaken, and I remember she kept her bedroom lights on at night for a week straight. Dad was away on a work trip, so he never saw any of it. When I asked my mom what had happened, she brushed it off. "Oh, it's nothing. Nadia's just lost her mind a bit," she said. Back then, I found it funny. Now, not so much. Later that evening, I made my mom some tea with lemon and knocked on her door. "Come in," she called. "Here's some tea," I said. "Oh, thank you. I didn't have the strength to get up. I'm glad you thought of it." "Mom, can I talk to you about something?" "Sure." "Do you remember the Kozlovs? Aunt Nadia and her daughter Vika?" She looked out the window, biting her lip. "Of course I remember. Why do you ask?" "I was wondering why you stopped talking to them." Mom paused before answering. "You were just a kid back then. I didn't want to scare you, or have you tell anyone. But if you really want to know, I'll tell you. Just don't tell a soul, not even your dad knows." I nodded. See, Nadia always had quirks. She was into weird stuff rituals, symbols on the walls. But that wasn't the worst of it. She got involved in some kind of group, They promised endless happiness, but only if you sacrificed something or someone. I stared at her, stunned. She brought Vika there for several days. I don't know what they did to her, but if Nadia was telling the truth, she lost her human form, turned into, well, I don't even know what to call it, a real monster. She showed me pictures of Vika afterward. She looked completely different. Nadia said that after the ritual, her joints stopped hurting, her eyesight got better, and even her salary increased. Only, her raise came from a regular indexation. Her vision improved because she'd been using prescription drops for weeks. And her joints? That was just because she stopped spending weekends working at her parents' garden. She wanted us to go there too, you and me. Said it would change our lives. I kicked her out of the house, told her she was insane. Do you believe me? She asked. I do, I answered. But were the photos fake? Or was it Vika who wasn't real anymore? Either way, the fact she wanted to drag you into it, that was the last straw. Nadia completely lost it after her husband left. She started running to fortune tellers and probably still does. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate you telling me. Of course, but why all the questions about Vika? You like her or something? She asked with a smirk. It had only been about a week since everything went down. The police were already searching for Siri and eventually found him dead in the basement of a different abandoned building. Not the one where Vika tried to lure me. But she wasn't done. She kept following me on the bus, near my building, at school. Once in a taxi, I saw her reflection in the rearview mirror, peeking out from behind some bushes. Or rather, not her, the thing I'd seen in that cursed apartment. Mom had recovered by then and was getting ready to return to work. I didn't want to let her go, but I couldn't stop her. I was panicking, trying to think of what to do. And then the solution came. A horrible solution. One I'd regret for the rest of my life. On Monday, we left the house together. I went to school and sat down next to Igor as usual. We greeted each other with a handshake. The teacher hadn't arrived yet, so we had time to chat. How are you? I asked. Same old, he replied. You? Fine. Actually, I heard something interesting about Vika Kozlova. Igor's expression shifted. What? You're messing with me? No, I'm serious. My mom still talks to her mom. Vika asked about you. Why didn't she ask me herself? Probably shy. You're not messing with me? Nope, totally legit. I don't believe it, he said. Want to talk to her yourself? We can go find her during break. All right. I knew he'd fall for it. I counted on it. When class ended, we walked over to check the schedule to see where we might find her. But before we could figure it out, she showed up on her own. Hey, Vika, I said. This is Igor. He'd love to join you for a walk. Thanks. Then you can leave us alone, she said with a smile. I nodded and walked back to the classroom, sitting at my desk near the front. I realized I'd be sitting alone for the rest of the school year. Then my phone buzzed with a message. Ilya, I'm off with Vika. Tell the teacher I wasn't feeling well. A second message followed, this time from Vika. Thanks for him. Now live in peace.